Max TRINITYS, Metaphysics for Suicide Prevention, Part 5, The Tornado Task. To catch lightning in your teeth and swallow the sun, to ride the wind and steer the tornado. Mixed feelings. Have you ever noticed that you can want to hug someone and strangle them at the same time? That you can feel disappointed and relieved at the same time? That you can feel confused by the initial flash of clarity? Do you know that you can be in love and fear at the same time? At any given time, we have a heavier focus on one feeling or another, but the fact is, we're usually experiencing several different feelings at once. We can have more than one feeling at a time. Even conflicting feelings can be co-experienced. If you really dial in, you'll notice the different feelings in the particular form each feeling is taking. You'll also notice that each feeling is attached to some context from your collective experiences or experiences you're daydreaming about. Being in love is one of the most layered experiences of our life. It's a parfait of warmth, pleasure, elation, amazement, familiarity, really strong attraction, belonging, and fulfilled desires. This isn't even close to a complete list of ingredients, and these are some of the more yummy, fun flavors of love. Being in love can also be accompanied by insecurity, challenge, extreme frustration and disappointment, and really deep fears of possible loss or rejection. You can think of each of these feelings as a bubble that holds stories and possibilities that are colored by the feeling. Take the feeling of belonging, for instance. That bubble contains all your shared friendship experiences, your shared synchronicities and signs, the shared comfort of how your bodies seem to fit perfectly, from your hand-holding to snuggling to the rhythm of your footsteps when you're walking together. There's so many different ways for us to feel belonging, and they're all personal. Attached to your belonging bubbles are the stories of your relationships, the shared events and intimate language that you develop with the people you feel you belong with most. Then there's an even bigger bubble, your love bubble, that holds all of your personal love stories, experiences with, expressions of, and even just your brushes with love itself. Yeah, the love bubble. Can you see how feelings are multidimensional themselves? And that you use your focus of attention, which has multidimensional reach, obviously, to engage not one feeling at a time, but many, many feelings at once. This multidimensional quality of feeling is so huge, so overwhelming and moving. Our adolescent exposure to all this momentum and all these layers and effects is like being filled with electricity. It's like having a sudden awareness that part of you is made of 1,000,000 magnets attracting 1,000,000 sensations at once. Yeah, that's what it felt like to me. Do you ever find yourself so spaced out that you totally have to be yanked back to this reality? Think about it, and you'll notice that it's because your focus was on so many things at once that you were far away from this physical plane. You seem blank when in fact your attention is actually filled to overflowing. It's even like you have to land your focus and dial back into this storyline. The movement of emotion is wild. Emotions are their own kind of pure power. We're talking about power and force here. If you've ever been present when a person learns of the death of a loved one, you know firsthand the incomprehensible power of feeling and emotion. Love and fear. In our dualistic views, we were able to learn the contrast between love and fear. We felt their differences through comfort versus pain, through acceptance versus rejection, and through fulfillment versus lack. In duality, these are opposing feelings, and they're experienced in very sharp contrast. In the all-inclusive, paradoxical state, these feelings mix and merge so much that at times you can't even explain to yourself what you're feeling. In duality, we experience love and fear separately. In the expanded reach of infinite choice, not only do we feel them at the same time, we actually get them confused. The foremost characteristic of love is that it's overwhelming. That's why we say we fall in love. It's like you don't even have a choice. And the foremost characteristic of fear is that it's overwhelming. If fear wasn't overwhelming, it wouldn't be anything. You know, when we love someone, we can be consumed with the fear of losing them. We can. Our biggest fears are connected to our greatest loves, aren't they? And if we admit it, we actually love to be frightened sometimes. I mean, we think it's fun, you know, horror movies and stuff. I think it's funny. We can see in the expanded view that love and fear hang out together a lot. They even give us a lot of the same physical sensations like shaking and sweaty palms, extremely heightened alertness or distraction, and arousal of the whole body. Not to mention that both love and fear are extremely, extremely captivating. There's a really cool secret hidden in this relationship. Because love and fear share many of the same sensations, they have all these bridges between them. These feelings can be traversed by your focus of attention, just as if you were walking over a physical bridge, just that easy. You can focus in on the sensation itself, not the object of love or fear, just the primary feeling. And in that instant, you can transmute fear into love, or love into fear. We can observe ourselves translating our love into fear pretty easily. It's more challenging to translate our expressions of fear into feelings of love. It's challenging, but it's totally possible. First of all, let's get something straight. We're not supposed to conquer, eliminate, or dominate fear. Those are delusional notions. Delusional. The more usable notion is this. Feelings are to be experienced, explored, integrated, and expressed. Emotions are our direct experience with the actual forces of nature, the all-powerful flow of life. And fear is one of the most influential feelings that exists. See, the surfer knows that you don't conquer or eliminate or dominate the waves. What would there be to surf? No. You read the waves. You gain knowledge and understanding of them through direct contact, and you ride them many, many times because you want to. We're here in this life having all these experiences and feelings on purpose. We're here because we want to be here, or else we wouldn't be here. I want you to notice that the term experience is used over and over in this material. Experience is central to our existence because it expands the reach of our mind, body, and soul. Experiencing is about reach. Our personal reach determines our access to meanings, newness, possibility, and material to create with. Our personal reach is our personal access to the resources of creation. We can only create with meanings and feelings we can reach. And we can only reach feelings and meanings we have experience with. This just makes sense. This is why we do all this experimenting with life experiences, to increase our reach, to add to the reach of our own soul, and to add to the reach of all that is. Every time we add to our reach, we automatically add to the reach of all that is. That's so cool. This is a more vast and far-reaching idea to use in relationship to emotion than the notion of conquering or eliminating feelings. That's old. That's out. In this perspective, emotion is the force we use to increase our reach. Therefore, we can see that all our feelings are direct contacts with the force of emotions. This direct contact changes us. It stretches our views and creates new spaces and new possibilities for us to grow into. So any old dried up notion that it makes you some kind of candy ass, some sort of weakling, to acknowledge and address and experience your emotional journey is just bullshit. To dare to face and feel and navigate your emotional life right in front of everyone and intentionally makes you mighty. It makes you one bold and daring motherfucker because you acknowledge real power and you dare to match it. Let's put to rest one of the worst and most damaging fallacies perpetuated over the last few centuries worldwide. This idea that it is not masculine or manly or in men's nature to have much emotion. The idea that men are not supposed to have or show feelings is a barbaric, disempowering load of crap. Not only is it macho and courageous to acknowledge your feeling life, it's very fucking liberating. It's how you finally allow yourself to be fully free to feel emotion without feeling like it will crush you. It's a path of love that's been denied to males across all cultures. It's created an unspoken fear of feelings in the hearts of men everywhere and crippled them for intimate relationships. Men aren't afraid of commitment. Men are afraid of feeling too much because that's what culture has whispered in their ears from boyhood. Don't have too much feeling. That's female shit. That is so damaging. Men die every day by their own hand because they've never been taught the true power of emotions. And then it's their inability to handle these forces that takes them out. That's how very powerful emotions are. Men kill themselves over them. Thank God the times are changing and we are changing them. Men are beginning to come out from under that dark and hopeless spell and learn that they are powerful because they have feelings. The old stereotypes are falling away, and that will bring healing in its wings. Then watch. Watch all the fear transform into love. In seeing that every feeling gives us the gift of stretching the reach of our soul, we can wind back around and see that fear is offering the gift of expanded reach. That signals to our focus that we have found a bridge between fear and love, that we can translate our physical and mental signals of fear into signs of love. And when we take our focus from fear to love, with genuine appreciation for the gifts of fear, then we successfully transmute fear into love. I don't think fear minds being transmuted into love. I don't think anything or anyone would mind being transmuted into love. That's alchemy. That's alchemy right there. World content. Along with the attention-grabbing force of emotions, we also enter the massive flow and momentum of the existing cultures we're born into. We are born into a culture, a set of meanings that reflect the preferences of clusters of humans. Culture is the collective creation of social structuring that influences every aspect of your personal life. The culture you're born into will influence your tastes in food and smells. It will affect what you consider to be beautiful and what music you listen to. Culture also reflects the beliefs and ideals that people hold to, that are passed on from one generation to the next through parenting. Cultural beliefs and the bigger notions about life that are being held to create a huge momentum of meaning. You're born into and swept up by these meanings because for at least the first 10 years of your life, you won't even think to question the collective belief systems. Until you do question them, you'll live unconsciously as if they're just facts. There are local cultures and there is also human culture. Human culture is characterized by the beliefs that all humans operate under. For instance, the belief that we are solid beings having physical experiences. Also, the belief in linear time as reality and nonlinear time as fantasy. Most of the human population on Earth are living according to some kind of calendar and in recognition of changing seasons. Most humans believe in the arrow of time. That's a phrase meaning that time moves in one direction only, from past to future, and never from future to past. These notions are powerful, and they exert a huge influence on our early interpretations of life. When we enter adolescence, we start to naturally question certain basic assumptions of our society and of life. Sometimes, just questioning your cultural beliefs can put you at odds with it. It's part of the natural development of our individual sense of freedom to defy presumed authority. We are going to be structuring our own meanings from here on out, so it only makes sense that we come to a time when we question the ideas that have been governing our lives. These things are easy to say, but defying your parents, disagreeing with the core ideals or beliefs of your family or community, takes quite a bit of energy and tenacity, if that's the way you go, you know. It also takes a strong sense of integrity and faith in your own intuitive leanings. And that's just the beginning. When you start to question beyond the boundaries of material existence, beyond linear time and duality, then you take on an even vaster momentum. You encounter a great deal of upstream energy when you really start forming and living your own meanings. It's one of the greatest challenges to live in a cultural domain that you're actively breaking with. We never really break from the cultures we're born into, though. What we do is alter them by pushing at their edges or editing out obsolete notions and splicing in new twists on old ideas. Culture also has influence over art and what is even considered to be art. But art is an area where culture has its loosest grip because of the powerful notion that creativity should be boundless and free-ranging. Art has always been the most accessible way to change culture with the least amount of conflict. Yep. At this time, on the earth plane, we are on the threshold of a global cultural change often referred to as the awakening. No one told us to call it that. It just happens to ring true to many, many humans at this time. The momentum of this shift in human culture is yet another giant wave whose energy we're living in. When the veil of childhood slips away, we become completely exposed and raw to these incredible forces we're now feeling. Luckily, all of these forces occur in waves. All emotion, all momentum and force comes in waves. If you focus on your own emotions, you'll see this for yourself. You'll see that not only your feelings, but your thoughts, daydreams, and moods all present in waves. And in between the waves are these lulls, where you mostly don't feel anything in particular. It's that blank state you slip into and out of without even noticing, unless you take the time to notice it on purpose. Oddly enough, It's within those blank spaces that a great deal of our steering power lies. Dialing it in and dialing it back. So, with your focus of attention being split between the development of your identity aspects, the engulfing influence of culture, and the raw exposure of your feelings, you must now practice in real time and through direct experience, steering your focus intentionally through all these opportunity obstacles. Yeah, it's a time of gauntlet running and endurance testing and challenges at every turn almost. It's hairball for sure, but it's where you learn the most about your own personal power to navigate your emotional and experiential life. So, you have your soul shield of personalized signs, your sword of intuitive knowing, and your word wand in hand. And it just so happens that you also have dials. You can dial your perspective in and out of focus. You can intensify attention toward a singular event or diffuse it to many events. By dialing your perspective in on a subject, you give yourself an instantaneous first-hand perception of the subject. Our perspective is the point of view we're taking, and the perception is the direct experience of that view and all it entails. Perspective and perception form the reciprocating relationship that shifts your focus around. It's two dials really, but they move each other like they're grooved together, so they form a singular movement together like a dance. When you look through a meaning, you're dialing your perception in, and your perspective shifts simultaneously. When you look from a point of wondering or seeking, you're using your perspective dial, and the perceptions will shift simultaneously with each movement of the perspective. This right here is a big fucking deal. This dial thing is huge because it's the steering wheel of your focus. Being able to shift your perspective and generate intentional perceptions is what you master using this dialing ability. That's not all. You also have a dial that's for intensity only. It's like an accelerator dial, and boy oh boy, this dial really saved me from a lot of very real pain and from repeating things. Things I just had to stop. I just had to stop repeating habits of self-harm and patterns of feeling stuck. One of my personal demons was rage. I'm not talking anger here. No, this is vein-popping, axe-wielding, murderous anger on steroids rage. Bad. Anger had become a protection for me at a young age. I had discovered that barely subdued anger and a caustic tone can be a really good shield if you want to keep people at a certain distance. My use of anger ended up being a good shield and a powerful weapon in my warrior days, but I overused it out of fear of being vulnerable, and it intensified and warped into fits of rage. It wasn't pretty. I'm not proud of it. I did a lot of harm in those times. I also found myself facing a personal demon that I had overfed and was now stuck in a pattern with. It was doing harm to my physical and spiritual hearts and causing ruin in my relationships. I knew that I had to stop. Funny thing, when I really started backing off of rage, the old suicidal thoughts tried to surface. I can see now that every time I had to make a change I didn't feel equal to or suffered a tremendous loss, I would kind of default to those thoughts. I had taken the option of suicide away from myself, so it was strange for it to even come up. It's like a kind of mild haunting, but I think it helps me to get a better perspective now. I hear my own thoughts kind of self-intervene and say, "Nah, dude, seriously, this isn't something to kill yourself over. We're not going there." That's kind of how I found my accelerator dial. When I did take suicide permanently off the option list, it involved two decisions. The first being, obviously, to not take myself out. And the second choice I had to make was to live. It wasn't enough to choose not to die. I had to consciously choose to live. Since I decided to live, I knew I had to heal. I knew I had to find ways to end the particular pain of depression. And I knew I had to quit rage and even discouragement for good. When I faced that demon rage, I found out that it was coming in waves. It would peak and my mind would blaze with murderous thoughts. Then I could see it start to ebb and diminish. And that was when I found my accelerator dial. In the lull, in the blank space between peaks, I took hold of my accelerator dial and dialed the feeling back with self-talk and focus. I told myself, "We are not that angry. This is that rage pattern, and this is my chance to dial it back. And it worked. The waves became manageable, and I started to really feel relief and change. After a short time, I could simply say to myself, "Dial it back, dude." And it would have an instant effect. I found it worked with anxiety, too, with sadness and worry, and even over-anticipating or obsessing about stuff. I was like, holy shit, I can just dial that shit back. Man, I love knowing about that. If I could give people one real tool, I'd show them that dial. Yeah. Once you get good at dialing it back to a nice, blank, neutral, mysterious hovering of attention, then you can become excellent at dialing your focus in to whatever perception you'd like to experience or whatever perspective you'd like to explore. These perceptions are instantaneous states of being, attained through training your focus to go where you want it to go. This is non-linear, timeless activity because these states all exist simultaneously. This is your own timeless nature, your own timeless way of being. Get good fast at dialing back your intensity and dialing into intentional meanings and moods. Use what shows up on your path to practice dialing, and you'll soon find that whatever you get yourself into, you can get yourself out of if you choose. And the things you'd like to experience, start moving your perspective in those directions. Start zooming in on the meanings surrounding your desires. Learn to hover your attention around the essence of the best feelings you can imagine, and the notion that all your good dreams can manifest right before your eyes. The victim trap. I'd be a lousy veteran if I didn't point out some traps, right? The biggest and hardest to escape trap I've seen in half 100 years is the victim trap. Oh yeah, it can take down some strong bastards and just turn them into mushy, powerless, pity-seeking shadows of themselves. It is to be avoided, so you need to recognize it when it surfaces and prevent it where you can. I once had a brief acquaintance with this crazy drummer kid who lived in the same building as me. He was kind of a dark fellow. He liked dark music and dark magic. One time, he caught me feeling sorry for him. He confronted me abruptly, saying, "Don't look at me like that." I flushed and said I was embarrassed. "Look at you like what?" "With pity," he said. I felt kind of busted, like he caught me doing something rather nasty. He proceeded to tell me that when he was a kid, his dad had killed himself. He said that he learned then that in order to get pity, you had to be wounded or sad. That pity robs you of feeling good. He said he'd had enough pity to last a lifetime and finished by telling me never to look at him like that again. Wow. I was stunned and affected by this very genuine stance. I learned that day that I don't want pity either, and that pity parties are a slippery slope to that victim trap. There's a balanced way to offer empathy and sympathy in the times of great loss or pain. It has to be used with intuition and in small doses. Think about it. A little empathy and sympathy goes a long way. Use too much and it warps into pity. And as my dark light friend said, you don't want that. You have to learn to listen to your self-talk and purge out any pity. You have to also learn how to be a support for others who are not wanting pity even in the face of their struggle. This is subtle stuff here. You have to pay close attention to yourself and make sure that you don't spend too long in sadness or discouragement or anxiousness or doubt. You are the only one who can do this for yourself by reminding yourself to dial it back, get to neutral and just hover around for a bit, and then see if you can fix your sights on a better feeling, a better view, a better meaning. The challenge of daily chronic emotional pain requires a priority of daily focus. You cannot feel the goodness fully in your life until you can successfully dial back the emotional pain into manageable waves. It takes real effort, but you can see your progress. The evidence of its effects show up really fast, and they are very noticeable, and that is very encouraging. Yeah, it's pretty noticeable when you go from feeling like a victim of your emotions to feeling like you can dial that shit back at any time you choose. Yeah, that's a powerful change. Watch. Observe closely the wave-like nature of your moods, feelings, and thoughts. This will help you to not get your perception dial stuck in painful perspectives. One of the delusions of chronic depression is that it convinces you that it's so permanent. It sends this nasty message that you have always been this way and will always be this way. Then you start getting notions that you are just a burden, a loser, that there's no hope. Even in that deep of a pattern, you can still see the waves, and they will let you know no feeling or state of being is permanent. There are breaks, and you know this. There are peaks, and they come with awful thoughts, but the waves will diminish. And when you're aware of that, you can grab your own attention and point it to your dial and just say those magic words to yourself. Dial it back. Dial it back, man. Dial it back. And you'll witness yourself getting freer and freer until there is no more trap. And you'll know firsthand how not to go back there. That's relief. That's the ending of your pain. That's self-healing and masterful steering. Yes, indeed. When you are in chronic physical pain, you have a double challenge in mind-body work and in maintaining a healthy focus. Notice I didn't say a positive focus. It's healthy to feel a wide range of emotion. Remember, that's where we stretch our reach. It's the getting stuck that we're working out here. It applies to the challenges of chronic physical pain in the same way, but I'll have to speak to that more when I go to the paradox task. We'll get to it. For now, just know that you can avoid getting stuck by dialing out of over-intensity and just hovering in neutral. You can also unstick your perspective by shifting to new meanings or simply wondering about a different perspective. It's instant, real-time maneuvering, and it brings instant, real-time relief and liberation. You're never, ever truly stuck, and that is so good to know. Watch those waves. Feel the ebb and flow of all your emotions with a sense of appreciation. Sit on the beach of your soul and listen to the crashing of your passion. to the breakers of your inner laughter, to the rhythm of peaceful assurance and the almost silent, ever-present undercurrent of love. Those are some yummy waves. Feel that. Those moments of appreciating demonstrate the truly transportive nature of feelings and meanings. Your focus rides the wind of your feelings, catches them with the reins of chosen meanings, and steers the raging, daunting, immense, and madly swirling tornado of emotion that captivates your personal attention. Steer that tornado like your life depends on it. Steer it like a master. And before you know it, you'll be surfing. Watch Max Trinity's Metaphysics for Suicide Prevention, Part 6, The Fellowship Task. Peace.